I'm going to say something that shouldn't be controversial, but in this day and age it is. The modern state of Israel is not the ancient kingdom of Israel, nor is its current prime minister or government any member of its government, Israel's prophesied king. The ancient kingdom of Israel ended with Jeconiah's reign. Any cursory examination of the book of Jeremiah, you'll find it. Jeconiah was to be the last king. The ancient kingdom of Israel not only failed to keep the contract they signed with Yahweh, with a few notable exceptions, such as David, Hezekiah. They completely ignored and blew it off. Because of this, Yahweh kept his terms of the contract, and the ancient kingdom was invaded and sold into slavery. Check the end of Deuteronomy. There were both blessings and curses. Blessings if the people of Israel kept their side of the contract, and curses if they didn't. Those who returned were no longer the ancient kingdom, but a remnant that were never really self-governing again, being first under the rule of the Persian Empire, and then later under Alexander the Great, and then the generals that succeeded him. Yes, there was a brief period of independence with the Maccabees for about 100 years or so, roughly from about 167 to about 60. Until Pompey intervened to stop them from destroying themselves with civil war around 60 BCE. From a New Testament perspective, the Mosaic covenant was rendered null and void with the new covenant according to the letter of the Hebrews. As Paul wrote many times, who is the true descendant of Abraham? The one who shares the trust in God which Abraham displayed, not necessarily the one who shares his bloodline. And if we're really going to be honest, if we were to include everyone who shares Abraham's DNA, his literal descendants, it would probably be almost a quarter of the globe, including myself. At least with the DNA test I had, there's a little bit in there. The child of the promise, not the child of the flesh. Those who justify the current actions and policies by the State of Israel government based on the text of the Mosaic covenant neither understand the basic premise of the new covenant, the history of the Old Testament, especially the histories on the prophets, or post-exilic Judea, or the New Testament in general. The modern state of Israel, formed in May of 1948, is neither ruled nor bound by the Mosaic covenant. It is a secular state governed by a constitution, parliamentary body, president, and prime minister. The modern state of Israel has no divine mandate to commit genocide upon the Canaanites, or drive them from the land like the Israelites did 3,500 years ago. The Canaanites were a people who practiced child sacrifice, and as such cannibalism, because a sacrifice wasn't considered completed until you ate from it. They also practiced the molestation and rape of travelers. The Canaanites who were in the land at the time of the Mosaic covenant were also almost completely wiped out by the time Israel was sold into slavery. And those who did survive were absorbed into Israelite society like Rahab was. Archaeology tells us that the Philistines did not survive the kingdom period. By the time Babylon took Israel into captivity, there were no Philistines left. There were no Canaanites whatsoever left. One can be supportive of the Jewish people without being supportive of the prime minister or government of the state of Israel or their actions or decisions. One can love the Jewish people without being supportive of the current Israeli government's policies of displacement and extermination of Palestinians. One can support and love the Jewish people without supporting and loving Israel's corrupt and currently dictatorial leadership. Consider the aforementioned civil war which Pompey put an end to. Consider the rule of the Herods, which prompted such an outcry from the Jewish people themselves that Rome had to intervene and take direct control in order to restore order. Consider all of the deranged kings of Israel and Judah, even under the covenant. David, Hezekiah, Solomon, and those few others notwithstanding. The vast majority of Israel's and Judah's kings were not good people, as the scriptures testify to. Does that mean then that we didn't love the Israeli people? Does that mean we don't love the Israeli people or the Jewish people? No, of course not. Just because their leadership sucks doesn't mean they do. It has now been reported that Netanyahu's government has approved a plan to not only permanently occupy Gaza, but forcibly relocate its residents south. Over 60,000 Palestinians, men, women, and children, have been killed since the October 7th massacre, and hundreds of thousands have been injured. Hospitals have been raided and bombed. Schools have been destroyed. It's reported that some of the IDF are using aid disbursement to beat and kill Palestinian residents seeking food. People are literally starving to death, and Gaza now resembles a landscape worse than something out of the Fallout games. And if you've ever played Fallout, you'll understand what I'm saying. As of this video, it's been reported by Israeli news outlets that Benjamin Netanyahu's government is now drawing up plans to annex Gaza bit by bit and push the remaining Palestinians out into other countries. This isn't just a war crime. It's a crime against humanity. It's ethnic cleansing. It's genocide. The most chilling fact, and the one that should leave every real disciple of Christ dumbfounded, far too many professing Christians are cheering it on. Why? Because the government of Israel is the perpetrator. What are considered multiple atrocities, if committed by any other nation, are seen as biblically mandated by these people because it is Israel and it is the Palestinians. It is because of things that occurred 3,500 years ago with a very different nation of Israel and a very different pagan, child-sacrificing Canaanite population. It has nothing to do with the virtues or lack thereof of the Palestinian people. Yes, Hamas committed atrocities and is a terrorist group, or at least was before they were completely gutted. By Israel. But not every Palestinian in Gaza was Hamas. Most weren't. Most were just people trying to live their lives, work, go to school, raise their families, even try to make the world better in their own way. When is it considered an atrocity? When is it considered wrong? Regardless of Israel's ancestral claims on this land, on this strip of land along the Mediterranean coastline, regardless of what happened on October 7th, when does the intentional slaughter and forced relocation of civilians, a great many of whom are children, become an atrocity, even if Israel is the nation doing it? How high do the numbers have to go? Or do they get a carte blanche, no matter what they do to them, because they're Israel? Palestinians are not the Canaanites. They might share some DNA with the ancient Canaanites, but then so do the native-born Israelis. The Canaanites were all gone by the time Judah went into captivity. They didn't exist by the 1st century. The Palestinians are descendants of various groups that have lived in and around the Levant for thousands of years. They represent not only Muslims, but also a good many Christians from some of the oldest churches in the world. There was no command in the Torah to wipe out the Palestinians, the majority of whom are also descendants of Abraham, one way or the other. God commanded Israel to spare his brother Esau's nation, Edom, and the descendants of Ishmael were always considered distant family to them as well. What happened there? Ishmael was never a target, even 3,500 years ago. By committing these atrocities against the Palestinians, Israel is committing these atrocities against their own relations in the family of Abraham, and disobeying the Torah of God egregiously. Does anyone seriously think God will be pleased with them over this? Does anybody seriously think God will be happy about this? If you do, if you actually think that, you have absolutely no idea who the God of Israel actually is. And you seriously have not read the Torah or the prophets. Because he goes off over and over and over again when Israel pulls crap like this. If you claim to belong to Jesus Christ, if you claim to be Christian, you need to seriously check yourself if you think this is right, that this is good.